The Paris Olympics served up a true worldwide conversation with their opening ceremony. Here at One Life Network, we say we want to engage in cultural conversations from a Christ-centered worldview with believers and non-believers. Now, the question is, did they or did they not set out to mock and denigrate the Last Supper? And if they did, how should we respond? My name's Bret, by the way. I've been a pastor a really long time, and if you enjoy engaging in cultural conversations like this, join us by hitting subscribe and leave a comment. Now, maybe you can relate to my own journey with this whole thing. I did not watch the opening ceremony of the Olympics. I just started seeing comments come up on my social media. I could tell something was going on, so I looked at a few posts, and it seemed pretty clear. While I was standing in the line at the grocery store looking at my phone, there was a scene that looked like it was portraying Da Vinci's Last Supper with drag queens. Now, obviously, Christians would find that highly offensive. Case closed. I saw a couple of reactions on YouTube, and my favorite was Andy Stanley on Instagram, where he used the fact that crosses mark the French coast at Normandy. Typically, if there's a big news like that going on, I'll say something on a Sunday morning. So I did. I used Andy Stanley's comment, and I coach people to be intelligent and gracious in their response. And there's no need for name calling or pearl clutching or any of that kind of thing. But being gracious is not calling a bad thing a good thing. It's calling a bad thing from the standpoint of we're all sinners and we all need a Savior, and standing that place and then addressing things. Done. That was pretty simple. Then I get out to my car after all the services of that day, and I see my sister has posted something on Facebook that it wasn't the Last Supper at all. It was the Feast of the Gods. You probably heard that by a relatively unknown Dutch painter. Then I'm not going to lie, I felt stupid, and I kicked myself for violating a cardinal rule of mine. And I would encourage you to make this a rule of yours in your own life. Don't comment on anything you haven't done your homework on, especially publicly. Say things that are informed by facts. And I was guilty of kind of going with the flow, and I wish I would have slowed down enough to be better informed. Maybe you did the same thing. But as I got out of my emotional brain during all that and into my rational brain and did some research, it surfaced some thoughts. Now, first, I shouldn't feel too bad. Others shouldn't either. Scores of people around the world, including a conference of French bishops, who even wrote a formal statement, took it to be a portrayal of Da Vinci's painting. In other words, it wasn't just conservatives from the American South getting bent out of shape. I also wondered why the initial statements and even the public apology that came from the producers didn't just say, well, it was the Feast of the Gods painting and not the Last Supper. That came up later, but not right initially. Why did so many people get it wrong? Now, I'm willing to accept it was meant to reflect the Feast of the Gods. It's the gods on the Mount Olympia, and it was the Olympics. Sure, that makes sense. And you can see similarities with the Dutch painting if you look at it. However, I've been a producer of short films and live productions, and of course not on that scale, but the principles remain the same. Producers and directors of things like this know more about the details of what they're presenting than anyone, and their job is to see through the audience's eyes. You make constant decisions about look, feel, emotion, how things might be interpreted. You work with teams to design down to the subtleties. The artistic director of this ceremony absolutely would have known how it looked. The reason is he's alive, he's smart, and just like nearly everyone in the whole world, he's very familiar with Da Vinci's painting. And since it's so familiar, it's on the order with the Mona Lisa or the Abbey Road album cover, people would have not been able to help seeing it as that, even if it wasn't. And I believe 98% of the entire world population had the Da Vinci scene go through their head when they first saw that picture. They can't help it. It's too iconic. We're too used to it. And as the production moved on, and they put Dionysus in it and all that, it becomes the Feast of the Gods and provides kind of this plausible deniability that it looked like the Last Supper. Well, of course, they knew that, and they made a choice to run with it and make it questionable. Now, for example, I noticed in the original Dutch painting, the god Poseidon was pictured, and he's easily identified by his long white beard and his trident, right? That would have been a very easy way to communicate that this is Greek gods, and most people would have, they've seen The Little Mermaid, so they know that, but that wasn't done. That's intentional. They made that choice. Blurriness was part of the goal. Am I saying it's a conspiracy? No, it's an artistic statement thing. The producer said he was trying to communicate ideas when he commented on this, but that can and should make it open to critique, to questions, to challenge, and even offense. And that's where the conversation should go. Everyone can have freedom to weigh in on ideas presented. For example, there was an unmistakable emphasis placed on drag queens. Why? As I went back and watched parts of the ceremony, I noticed men being feminized was a part of the fabric of the show. Why there? Why did they do that? Why is that becoming such a thing all over the West? The same sister I mentioned a while ago asked the question, why do I have to see this here? I just want to watch the Olympics. I want to see some gymnastics and some swimming and see a nice opening ceremony. Why do drag queens have to be there? What do they have to do with that? Why are they showing up in my world more and more and more? Now, as Christians, we should engage with those kinds of ideas and ask gracious and intelligent questions like that. And by the way, I think I know part of the answer as to why, and we produced a video about the formal and very aggressive philosophy behind all of this, and you can check that out here. Hope that helps. See you next time.